Very thick gavel.
Didn't it? Yeah, Don Rickles did that to Johnny Carson, or you know, and well, I'm gonna unscrew it now.
Behave.
I'll get fired one way or another. All right, everybody. Welcome, family and friends, to the 12 September Art Commission regular meeting. It is 5 o'clock, and we'll start with the roll call. Carla? More enthusiasm, please.
There.
That's better. J.R. Russell, me, chair, you bet. Mary already chimed in that she couldn't make it. Valerie? Here. That's better. Cynthia?
Present.
Okay. Tracy? Hello. There we go. Therese?
EC.
Student member vacant. City council member Chris?
Present.
Okay, I like that. All right. First things first, we got the agenda. And what I'd like to do, and we talked about this a little bit, item 5B is the September meeting with framework. So we're gonna, how about we move that all the way to next August? No, wait a minute. We'll move that to 5H.
Below 8.
B is now H. So we can go through all our agenda here. We'll get through as much as we can, take a break, and come back and play with framework.
I like it.
Guys like that?
Yep.
All in favor?
I
There we go. With that, let's look at the approval of minutes from August 8th. If anybody has any additions or comments, I'd welcome those. If not, I'd also welcome a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting of August 8th minutes as presented.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comments? Ooh.
And I can just quickly read
Okay.
what each comment was about. We won't go through it. One from Tim Economu regarding ordinance 1999. We had a comment from Cynthia Campbell, also regarding ordinance 1999. We have one from Brett Medberry, regarding ordinance 1999. Kyle Renninger, also regarding ordinance 1999.
Is that all 19, is that the parks
Yes.
land thingy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Patty Stuckey, regarding ideas for the city with a list of art structures and art walk. It is, yeah. And that was it.
I read that one. That was well said, a lot of stuff, and it's all stuff that we're trying to do. Okay, so much, we got our public comments. Let's move on to discussion item, all our items here under 5A, chalk art.
You want to start out, Cynthia?
It was approved last meeting that we apply for, we'll move forward with the 2025 event. And Brian brought it to the Parks and Rec Board. Was that a subcommittee, Brian, that we were at on Tuesday?
Yeah.
And they were all for it, so they also gave thumbs up on applying for the LTAC dollars. So I'll take the lead on that application and team with Wendy for the other half of that and see what happens.
And just to refresh, that was a $70,000, like total cost 35 in LTAC funds, and then 35 would come out of
Art.
the art,
Correct.
okay? Then we move on to item C on buskers. That one still stays on our agenda. Do you have any more on that, Cynthia?
I just looked back in my notes to kind of refresh my memory where we were, and it was back in March of this year that it went to Sabrina because she received a draft of Busker's ideas from Main Street as well, so she was gonna look at it and make sure RCWs and all of that were in order. So it's kind of on their side right now.
5D is press release, and I am not sure if that entails looking at a press release, if we were talking about for framework, or, because it goes right down, the next thing would be,
I think this might be what Tracy was commenting on a little bit with the, it wasn't regarding the ducks, although that's also part of it, and we have a press release for that, but I think it was around, was it the Angel of Creativity?
So if that's the one, because I think we've got a couple different press releases
Right,
going,
yeah.
but, so if we could, since we didn't distinguish it, but if it is the one that I was mentioning, that was a request that JR also reminded us of, is something that we've been, as a commission, have been asking for several months. And so I had just stepped forward and offered to help to try to get things rolling forward, and had reached out to Framework for some talking points so that we can write it up. I have spoken to Maggie, and she and I are going to, or have been putting some things together independently, and then we'll come together and put something out. Now, from my understanding, as much as I would like to just run with it and get it out there, since we are, as Brian pointed out, we are representatives of the city and volunteer being with the commission. So it is something that has to officially come from the city.
And I'll just include in that, both with just the overall press release conversation, articles, the duck article, which was really nicely written. Good job on that, guys. Sabrina would like us to either include this as one of our subcommittees or create a new subcommittee specifically for outreach and working with things like this with Maggie on communications. And this subcommittee would work on those press releases, and then Maggie would be invited to those subcommittee meetings, and then we would send those on to the paper as you want. So I guess I would just ask you how you want to handle that. Because right now what we're doing is we have a lot of emails going back and forth, and then we have volunteers from the commission that take a stab at it, and that we send it on to Maggie. And I want to make sure that you're happy with the final product that's going to be put in the paper.
well, I've got was it 2 weeks ago that we broke ground? Was it last week? I lost track.
Last week, yeah.
Oh, there was was it in the paper? Well, see, there's what we call press release. You're talking about emails. Well, email is sent, a Facebook post, an Instagram post. Where's the rest? Because I know there's a lot of people that don't do this stuff and don't do Facebook. So
I'm just talking about in the creation or discussion around those articles going to the paper. Right now, we're kind of going back and forth by email when we're discussing those. So Sabrina would like us just to have a subcommittee that are sitting down and drafting these, and then working with Maggie to get those sent to the paper.
So what's going to take is, and I'll go right to the next one, then the duck names. I wrote that article. And, does that mean that we're going to be generating the articles to send to the city to release? Or, Okay.
Brian, I had just stepped forward. I feel like it's just this one situation that is being talked about like it's a big project, and it was just this one situation. And I stepped forward because after months of asking for something and still not having it, I thought I could help get it moving forward. That was the purpose. It wasn't to overstep anybody or not follow any rules or make a big deal like we have to have a new committee.
No, and I don't think anyone thinks that at all.
Okay.
I think Sabrina's just wanting to find a way to make this a faster, easier process. Since we're trying to have all communication go through Maggie as the communications officer, right? And I know you guys are like, we're in stuff and we send it on to Maggie, and then I don't know what happens with it from that point. So just to have a little bit of a better control and accountability on how that goes.
Well, go
I haven't
ahead,
heard
Cynthia.
I haven't heard anything as far as, oh, we don't want to do this or we want to change this or that. As far as
I'd be happy to work with Maggie.
I was going to say I'd be happy to help. I know, I've worked with Maggie before, so she's great. And if she needs a meeting to help us get the ball rolling faster to get stuff out, not just via social media, then, let's do it.
I think she has a lot of things on her plate. We've had a lot of things I know in this week that have been a tight turnaround, and so, these just kind of get put on the list. And I did reach out to her a little earlier today just to see where we were at with those items, and haven't heard back yet, but I'll follow up with her.
I'd also be willing to be on that committee, and I think it's a great idea, because she does have a lot on her plate, and we can come up with all kinds of things that we can push to her and see
And
what she
then
thinks.
Mary's not here, but there's a writer, so we should put her on that committee. All in favor? Good.
Would this just be the art commission with Maggie, or would this be other areas as well, like Parks and Rec, like the other meetings that we go to?
I'm talking just specifically about the art commission, I think, right now. Yeah, I would keep it within that.
But just out of curiosity.
So Brian, at this point, we've got our hands raised. Will Maggie get to us on when it fits in her schedule?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll follow back up with her and ask her to do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Okay, and with that, as far as the duck names, I just decided to write the article and then leave it wide open. So we get as many names as we could in there and write a funny article about it, and then make everybody guess from now until the end of time what that third duck's name is. Only one person knows, and it's that duck. So, if they can talk to the duck, go right ahead. So, but hopefully we can get some more things like that. All right, so now we're on to, yeah,
Have we selected the names?
yes, we did.
You have to read the article.
You got to read the article.
Two of them.
Because it's secret.
There's two of them.
Okay,
The
I just,
third one is yet unknown.
I'm speaking for the Ducks, because they're not here to represent right now. Read the article.
where would I find the article?
That's a good question. We'll just have to, that's in the,
It's
it's on Maggie's desk.
another reason for a committee to meet with Maggie on a monthly basis so that Maggie has support.
Good luck getting anything out of those ducks. All right, so let's go to 5F, which is the skateboard park cleanup event.
So the skate park cleanup is scheduled for September 28th. It's a Saturday, 10 to 2. There is a flyer out on social media, Instagram and Facebook. We were hoping to get at least 28 people, but I think we're going to get a lot more. So we're going to be doing some basic cleanup, some painting, some weeding. We are going to have hamburgers and hot dogs for people that come. We're hoping it'll be a really fun event.
And we have scheduled a final meeting next Tuesday from 11 to 12 with the planning group, just to review everything one last time. This is going to be a phased project, right? So we're doing kind of a cleanup. Parks will do some setup for that around having the equipment there and getting the fence prepped and different things like that. And then we'll be working on sandblasting off the graffiti and prepping the rest of the area for a spring event that we can work towards if we want to do an art installation event at that time. That gives us a little time to work towards that.
And just to add to that, thank you for making copies for all of us. But this document that is in front of you was given to me by Jessica Oz, who's with the Youth Coalition now. And she is part of the stakeholders team that has come together for this cleanup day. It's pretty exciting without trying too much how many organizations are there. So us, Parks and Rec, Youth Coalition, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, and the youth services from Island County Youth Court System. But this is a draft of an art program that the Youth Coalition put together back in October of 2021. And again, it's just all of us talking about kind of the same thing at the same direction. So this will come into one of our phases here in the future, but this was just given to you to take home and take a look at it because it's something that we've talked about doing at the skate park as well. So knowing that the Youth Coalition had the same concept, and she will be meeting with Liz Lang to go over this idea as well. So Carla will probably sit along in that meeting.
Just to give a little more context as well, when this plan was presented to the Youth Coalition, it came from our SRO at the time, the City of Oak Harbor's Police Department School Resource Officer, is the one that kind of was spearheading and presenting that, and she's still on our force as one of our detectives. So if it's, when we get to that point, making sure we loop the police department in as well, I think would be a great recognition of her work early on, so.
She did present to us.
As well. Yeah, good, good.
Okay, we ready to go to subcommittee updates?
Do we have a press release coming out for the September 28th? Just kidding.
Let's go into committee.
I failed to mention Garrett at G Skate Shop is the one helping promote this, so he's part of the team too, the cleanup day.
Okay, let's move on to 5G, subcommittee updates. I know. Well, Tracy and I met, and, well, we were, for the first 15 minutes, we didn't know where to go without you. We were teared up, didn't know what to do. I didn't know which end of the straw to use for my coffee. It was horrible. But then we buckled up and got right to it and adjourned. No. A couple of things that we talked about, and Brian, I'll run this by you, is we thought what it would be, and we've talked about this before, of looking at other art commissions, for instance, like Mount Vernon, Redmond, Woodinville, and other places where we could like, hey, pop in as public and see how other people are doing things and looking at some of everybody's best practices. And we were thinking like we can do that, but we just, before we go breaking any laws, we wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we've done site visits with the Parks and Rec Commission. We went down in Centralia to look at some sports fields and talk with their staff about, what projects they're doing and things they wish they had done differently, and as we get ready for a feasibility study for the rec center. Site visits and talking with other agencies is a great way to share best practices, get some ideas, and
Okay.
find opportunities for partnering. It's totally fine. We'll just have to notice it and do a little planning ahead for it.
Therese?
Way back when Kit and I visited Anacortes, and they're jealous, and Langley, and they're jealous too. But it's nice to see how they, same but different, but they have no funding. Either of them have no funding. Although Langley has an arm of money raising, Anacortes has nothing except, begging the city for bones.
Now,
So
I think I
it's a
mentioned
good idea.
before that you're kind of ahead of the curve. Mostly, there's ordinance changes that include a funding source for placement of public art after you've done the art plan. So it's pretty amazing that we've already had that in place.
Okay. Tracy?
Yes, Brian, is there any protocol that we should be following? We were really excited about the potential of Mount Vernon's Art Commission meeting, which is next week.
Like I said, we just have to notice it. Mount
What do you
Vernon,
mean by that? Notice it? Like,
that you're going to have a special meeting
Okay.
offsite, right? That'll be a quick trip, so I don't think we need to do any like travel things next week. It's
Brian,
fast
do you have to
turnaround. We could
notice
probably
it
make it happen.
if it's just a few of us? Wouldn't be all of us?
We're not talking about bringing the whole team down there. We're just
Because
talking.
I can't go.
Yeah, we're just
so-
talking
who
about,
would be interested in going?
As long as you don't have quorum.
yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a quorum, you can do whatever you want.
That was the intent.
Yep, then you're good.
Okay.
Three of you could go.
Would you like staff with you? Would you like us to all drive together?
No.
You want to just show up? and-
No, just, yeah. We just want to say hi.
Have you had a conversation with them at all?
nope.
Nope?
We wanted to double check on our protocol.
Okay.
And as JR said, we didn't want to break any rules.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're, as public, and
Okay.
outside of their
Ball's
city,
back in our court. We're on it.
Just to make clear, quorum's 3 with this group, correct?
It's 4.
So if you have, 3 of you can go without a notice, 4 of you would need a notice, which is really just having the city put out a notice that you guys are going to be at the same event.
Yeah, it did present a problem when we were in Safeway, and 4 of us were around the strawberries at the same time, and we were like, scatter,
Yeah. So literally, when we show up to public functions that we don't always know that everybody's going to be at, if there's 4 of us, we don't congregate as 4.
All right.
We can't, right? Because then it's assumed we're doing business.
A couple of the other things that we talked about at our subcommittee update, one of them was I've done the Mount Vernon Youth Arts Festival, and they've done 38 of these. And here's a list of the booths that they had at Hillside, I think it's at Hillside Park. And they had everything from sand bottles, and YMCA, Cascadia Clubhouse, paper crowns, fairy doors, coloring and drawing, foam masks, coffee filter butterflies, buttons, fish prints, easel art, clothespin fishing, wood turners, and they even did chalk art. And they've done this for 38 years. And I think it's something that would be worthy of, boy, it'd sure be nice if there was like a giant statue. We could hold this thing around a statue of like a creativity type thing. So more to follow on that. And then another idea that we're working on would be to all these pieces of art, because we've all talked about the fact that there's no, whoever videoed it before, like walking and I saw something, I don't even know who that person is. But we have somebody that might want to volunteer to video for us and hopefully to use kids to talk about the art pieces. And so nobody wants to listen to us, but maybe they'll listen to a 6-year-old tell them about, the piece, which leads to the information that we would need, like the history of all these art pieces. Is that all that information there so we can give it to a 7-year-old, like, this is it, you're going to be in front of this and we film you talking about this. Do we have that? Okay. So that was something that, that we want to continue to work on. Okay.
Cynthia, I'm directing this at you because you sent that list of art pieces out, and you forgot the art piece, the founder's piece that Richard Nash did in Windjammer Park.
That was,
Was it called something else?
no.
Oh.
So that was just an existing document, along with the art walk that the chamber did, and there's just a few other documents that exist, so they just need to be revived, and maybe that could be part of our conversation with Maggie.
Okay. Any other subcommittee updates? Tracy, did we miss anything? Valerie, do we miss anything from the other time that we talked? Because we've had two of them.
We had was, we already talked about was the LTAC fund that we did last Wednesday with Cynthia. We were going to look up if there was an RCW for grants for the Art City Commission, if there was like something already written into Washington State statute for that we could follow. Because we were talking about giving grants for funds for like different people that wanted to do art. Or, sorry.
No, I could. No, that's a year and a half. I don't know.
That was the last thing I had from us,
Tracy.
I do see one other note here from our meeting, 2 meetings ago, is we were talking about the utility wrapping. That was the only other thing I see here.
Therese.
I've got 2 bids that compare only the ones that have been previously wrapped. And one of them hasn't arrived yet in my text, but I got a gentleman in Freeland who does this, and Jeff Humphreys' original bill for the one that is wrapped. And Jeff Humphreys is less than half of the group in Freeland, and I'm expecting the one from Blue Fox Drive-In to be closer to Freeland than Humphrey. So I've talked to everybody, and I'm just trying to, because if we went with the Freeland people, we wouldn't have enough money to do the job. And I talked to Jeff again today, and he's very enthusiastic because this is his community, and he wants to make it prettier. So I'm waiting for Blue Fox, and I did call him 45 minutes ago to remind him I was waiting. So I'll know that number hopefully sometime in the next little bit.
Okay, now we can move on. If there's no other subcommittee updates, anybody? Parks and Rec Director updates?
I just need to, so right now we have a placemaking and public art subcommittee that has Carla, Cynthia, and Mary on it. We have our programs and special events, and this one has 4 members, so I need to kick one of you off, but we also have a hard time getting everyone to these committees, but because it's joint with the Parks and Recreation Commission, it's been fine, and so I want to gauge who wants to be attending this. Right now I have JR, Tracy, Therese, and Valerie as part of that committee. And that's the joint one with the Parks and Recreation Commission.
I'm no longer a commissioner after November. So I don't know if I'm going to be effective for the next 60 days.
All right. that
But
makes
I'm
sense.
willing to,
Take Therese off. All right. I feel, has it really been a year? I feel like we had this discussion like just a couple months ago, but it's been a whole year. Wow, that's crazy.
in 8 years.
And then our plan, we have Carla, Cynthia, and Tracy on that one. And I have Cynthia, Valerie, and Carla for the communications. Is everyone happy with that? Anyone?
Yep.
Okay. As far as updates, just real quick, We do have to go to bid for the removal of the graffiti at the skate park. That's going to cost about $15,000. So it's something that we'll want to probably have a discussion on how we want to do that before we get to that point here in spring. And then the Angel of Creativity, we did the cement pour this week. We are working right now on an agreement with Sculptures Northwest for bringing the statue to Oak Harbor and where that's going to be stored. Right now, we're looking at either the staging area or at the municipal shops. Once we get the concrete set, that takes a few weeks. But we also will want to start working on what a ribbon cutting ceremony looks like. So we kept the groundbreaking fairly small, but the ribbon cutting, we want to have all kinds of flash and pomp and circumstance around it, right?
Okay. We've never, it goes back to the press release kind of stuff. We haven't done a ribbon cutting that I'm aware of for anything. And to me, it's like, okay, this statue, my mind says there should be like a time-lapse camera watching it, go up. There should be, photos and video of this going by. And who does that? Is that like thrown to us here, the Art Commission, to do that? Or is that something, because the city of Oak Harbor, this is the city of Oak Harbor that should be embracing this. So how does the city of Oak Harbor want to proceed and go ahead? Yeah.
So this is part of these procedures that we're developing with Frameworks, and I'm so happy they're here in the room. It's very timely to talk about what that looks like and what the footprint and checklist is, what vision that looks like from this group, so Brian could take it to the powers to be and say, this is how we're going to handle installations and this is how we're going to handle celebrations. So this is perfect timing to me to discuss what that looks like.
I'd like to try to put in our budget. We just paid $28,000 today. We only have $9,000 left. So we are going to be paying our bills with the money the city gives Sculpture Northwest back. But if there's any money left over, I would like to invite the sculptor to be present at a ribbon cutting. So we could fly him here and put him up and have him be part of a ceremony. And that was kind of the vision of George and then his executor. So I'd like to be part of that planning so that if it can happen, that would be part of the calendaring of it.
Brian, do you have an idea of like dates that could be planned from the estimate of installation?
I'll talk with Lou next week and have a little better idea on timing. Some of it has to do with weather.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and there's also a plaque that needs to be done up that was about the Dreamers and whatever that quote was that he desired. So that has to be done too in timing of that ribbon cutting, right?
yeah, there's a few weeks for the curing, and then it's installed, and then there's a cap cement that's installed after that. So
I've kind of imagined all along having a kiosk like they have where at the top of the trail and over by the just the city color boards that explain the stories. So you can have something about Sebastian on one, something about George Drake on the other, something about art, and something about the poet or the poem that George wanted to associate with that, the dreamers, schemers, and square pegs, or whatever that was. So that was my vision of having that stand alone away from the sculpture in the park, so you could go over and find out about it, but it wouldn't be attached to it, or it would just be an educational board.
Well, let me talk with Maggie, and then we have our subcommittee for public art on the 23rd, and if we can invite you, Therese, as a representing Sculptures Northwest, to that meeting, and we will solidify what that plan looks like and what we want to do. I like the time-lapse idea. Those are always fun to put together. We have the ability to do that, so.
If it seems like it might be a good idea, I can work with Richard Nash and really kind of aggressively try to get Sebastian's attention and see what his schedule looks like. So if we can get just some communication, because it's actually gonna happen, and we could calendar something with him. We could put it in the future, whether it's November or December. I don't know how soon after.
Okay, let's just go on. Let's keep that as a plan.
Okay, I'll work on it.
You mentioned the other art pieces, so Sabrina had mentioned doing ribbon cuttings for those as well, along with the acorn statue. I think at the time she had mentioned, once we complete the final two of doing a ribbon cutting around all of them, or the installation of the collection. But that's something we can talk about, how we want to do that. And we never have done one with the acorn statue. We're still, Pat met with our staff as far as like repairs and how to and doing a training on how to maintain that. And so we still need to make a decision on the shelter or whatever that ends up looking like. So that might be a good opportunity to do a ribbon cutting around that as well.
Brian, so the last two pieces from the Ken and Brew collection were approved by City Council at the end of August. I didn't watch that meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we presented those. Carla did a fantastic job, and
Oh, I was there.
You were there.
they
It went till 11:30, I forgot.
unanimously approved at midnight to do that, yes.
Best time to bring stuff to council. 11:30 at night. After we were getting beat up all night.
All right, Brian, is that it?
That's enough.
Member comments, we can go right around. Valerie, you have anything?
Don't we have H still, which is
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah, we want to, yeah. Do we need to take a break, or do you want to? Because if we went, yeah, he said he was done.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, do you want to do member comments now or after?
We'll wait till after, and we'll just, everybody take do we need to take a 2-minute break, or you want it ready to go?
Yeah, we'll do a 5-minute break and we'll reconfigure for the work session.
I'm in complete control. 4-minute break. All right. No. So is it working? Test, test, test.
Hello, yep.
Yep, fire trucks. So, you ready to play? You ready? We're back.
Okay, sorry. Okay, all right, let me start over again. Welcome to the Art Plan Residency Number 2. We had 1 and 1.5, so we're still calling this 2 because that's in our scope. Okay, so tonight we're going to make you work a little bit. First thing while they're figuring that out is the schedule for the 3 days that we're here. So tonight, here we are. We're going to talk about, I'm kind of calling it the unified field theory of art plan. So we've been doing these kind of pieces of things. We want to show you how they all work together. Goals, criterias, your mission, what we're calling the sieve of running potential projects through a set of criteria. An implementation plan. So once you've run these ideas through the sieve, what would it take to actually implement them? How are you going to do that? One of the ways you're going to do that is you're going to have a work plan for the year with a schedule, and that's going to be a beautiful thing. Tomorrow we're going to talk to, there you go, as many of you on your various subcommittees about the toolkit. We want to make sure that we've got all the tools that you need. I think we're going to talk about protocols as well. So it's always fun to listen to what you're talking about before we're on the agenda. Committees, task forces, individual roles, how that works with the city. So communication protocols of, you got your agenda for each meeting going out, so you have a chance to think about it and look at that. Recruiting, onboarding. Now we've got installations and celebrations. Who's got the giant scissors? Do you have giant scissors? Okay, so those are the nitty-gritty pieces that we'll talk about tomorrow afternoon. There's the public drop-in session at 4:30. There was a lot of enthusiasm for the exhibit. Unfortunately, that was kind of late in the day. But, hey, we can do it another time. Because I think one of the things to talk about is one of the things on your agenda to turn the building that we've been, or the room that we've been in, into like a place for arts and exhibits. So that's one of the things that I think we'll run through the sieve tonight. And then Saturday, we have the Military Appreciation Picnic, and we'll be there with some activities and talking to folks, getting some more survey candidates in. And we've got a bubble machine, very excited about that. So anyway, that's the plan. And then we go back and we pull a draft together. We've got an outline of the draft. We've been having a lot of fun with the idea of the oak tree as metaphor. The seeds of ideas, the structure for how you make that work. So anyway, that's that. How's it going on the slides over there? Is that okay? If not, we'll just keep going. Let's just keep going. Okay, so just some things to just kind of refresh people's memory. The themes that we've gotten from input, and it's been very consistent, and when we were up here last, people said, yeah, that seems right. The idea of visibility, of making arts and culture visible in Oak Harbor, both for the community itself and for the folks driving on Route 20. The idea of connectivity, there's a lot of different kind of thoughts about connectivity. It's connecting the downtown to the waterfront, connecting the marina and the college to Windjammer Park. It's connectivity between people that are doing things in the arts realm, helping that communication be stronger and just help everybody's efforts be more effective and impactful. We talked about arts in the neighborhood, so there's always an idea of having a magnet
so that you can really see on Pioneer Way that there's a lot of stuff going on there in the waterfront, but also finding some ways of having things out in the neighborhoods where people have a little more agency and get to know each other and communicate well. Thoughtful procedures, that's what I was just talking about before. We've also heard that there's a desire for new venues, and I know there's people in town working on that. So that may not be something that you are in the lead of, but it should be something that you're part of and playing leadership roles on. I would say under visibility that you guys could use some visibility for yourselves. That having people know that the Arts Commission is out there doing stuff, because I think sometimes it gets watered down. It's great to have partnerships, but I think you always want to know that the Arts Commission is out there doing very positive things and having a positive brand. The OH Arts is a way that you can be doing that. We sent a whole ton of photos of things that we think OH Arts is to Maggie, so she can keep that going out again and again on the Instagram, just so the positive arts, so that JR's golf buddies know that there are positive things going on in the arts. It's not just, for the rarefied folks that have art with a capital A. Okay, so some of you are maybe going to need to turn around a little bit. But we want to show you the diagram that we did of how all this stuff kind of starts to fit together.
I think before Leslie dive into the toolkit, I want to add that for the draft plan outline, we have our intern to do an inventory of all the arts in Old Harbor. There are 40 of them we collected. So we have a little picture with a description what that art's about, and then the artist. So that's in draft. We can walk through it tomorrow, and then that align very well with the interview project that JR talked about. And then we also have a demo of a digital version that people can look on their cell phone or on a PC, and that could tie to the video interview video as well. So that's something we could show when we talk about the draft. Yeah.
Great. Tonight, right?
Either tonight
Or tomorrow. Okay. We're going to make you work first. We really want to use this time well with you to make sure that the stuff that we're talking about really works for you. Okay. Should we show them the unified theory? Okay. There it is. Okay. The colors have sort of faded. Okay. So on the left there, we've got the vision and the mission. And you guys have a mission. It's written down. It's on the website. We've got that a little later. And underneath your mission is like what your reason for being is to do some things and do them well. We want to get you the public art protocols. We want to get you administrative protocols and just the task force and roles. And that's something we want to talk about probably tomorrow with you guys. You've got your task force. It seems like they're kind of working. But let's just check in on those. Sounds like communication might need some tweaking. But I think getting those protocols will be super helpful for you. And certainly one that we think is going to really be helpful is getting a calendar for you. So I don't know whether you want to do this in January, but you look at the year, you run the potential projects, the things that you're doing through the Civ, you look at how much time and energy you have to make those things happen. Okay, we just talked about that one already, so. Are you running this? Okay. Yeah, so that's the nitty-gritty under your mission and your protocols. Questions on that one? Okay, do you love it? Okay. Then we had those things that I just kind of ran through, the visibility, connectivity, arts, an art magnet in your civic spaces and arts out in the neighborhood, being a little more coordinated. So those are some goals which start to roll into some selection criteria. Okay, so if that's what we're trying to achieve, how do we want to do that? And we made two buckets of things. One is activities that you do, the other are projects. So in terms of activity, we talked a little bit when we were here before about the idea of getting the arts community together maybe 3 times a year, so you can talk to each other, you can coordinate, you can just really see what other people are doing in the hood here, and just to communicate, inspire each other, coordinate, and just, that could be kind of fun. How you want to do that, you know, maybe there's a, I don't know if you can do wine and cheese, but, you know, maybe that's after your Arts Commission meetings or before, but, you know, 2 or 3 times a year, that was something that people sounded interested in. But we can talk more about that. We talked about an information hub. That's a big lift, because there's nothing worse than an out-of-date information hub. So, you know, maybe that's not on the first round of things to do. Another thing that we haven't talked about, but we thought might be really a lot of bang for the buck, would be to honor people in the arts in town. So maybe there's an art hero, somebody that's making stuff really happen in town. Some cities have the civic poet. You know, maybe Garrett and the stuff he's doing with the youth. Maybe you've got an artist that you want to honor that's doing something pretty extraordinary. But I think that's an easy thing to do. Maybe at your gatherings, you can give them a plaque or, you know, ice cream, whatever it is. But I think that it's a really nice way to, again, accentuate the positive things that are happening, all the effort that various people in town are putting into making good things happen. So that's something that we can think about. But those are activities that you do. Then there's projects. So we just heard about a bunch of projects. You know, the skate park work, a chalk event, grants for artists, the idea of celebrations. Those might be activities rather than projects. But let's figure out how those work. Let's put them on a calendar so that you kind of know what you're going into, and you can kind of pace yourself and think ahead to get those going. We did a pretty interesting graphic for another arts commission showing what was happening over the year. It's really interesting. There's just the summer's like just slammed, and then it kind of peters out, and the winter is just, I don't know, maybe, you know, us, like some plants are dormant. But that's something that you can make choices about. One of the things that came up in our discussions about potential, you know, opportunities is a big thing. You know, maybe there's a big thing that happens when everything else is quiet. You know, maybe that's when you get your flares out along the harbor, and it's great. There are great winter activities that people have, and so maybe it's the time you just want to rest up, or maybe it's the time to do something quite different and uniquely you. So the projects go through the sieve of the selection criteria, and we'll show you that. And so out of the bottom of that sieve, there's a collection of projects that seem to meet the goals that you've set out. And then the nitty-gritty next piece is implementing. What does it look like to implement those projects? Who's going to do it? What's it cost? What are the resources? Who's going to actually be the boots on the ground? When is it? How does it fit into your calendar? So this whole thing, you know, starts with the big ideas and the mission that you're set out to do, and it's going to go through the set of criteria. It's going to end up with a set of projects that you like. It's going to end up with an implementation plan, an action plan. Does that sound good? Okay, let's go to the next slide. There's your mission, by the way. Okay. Yeah. So you can go back to that walnut, the brain. One of the things that's really fun about working with Bobo was we kind of have these ideas, and then the graphics show up, and it's like, oh,
You mean like this?
I love that. So.
Let's print T-shirts now.
So it's really a way to organize the world of ideas into something that works with your goals and is going to get us to at the end of the day, to the action plan. Okay, love that. Okay, so here's some criteria. And again, what we want to do is take this for a test drive. And if you love these criteria, that's great. But these are definitely a draft. You know, I was talking to Bobo about, you know, when you make decisions and you're not sure what you want to do, it's like heads, I'll do it, tails, I won't. You flip the coin, and it comes up, I'm not going to do it. You're going, oh, oh, I think I really wanted to do it. So we're going to do these criteria. We're going to run some projects through there. But, you know, these are not totally scientific. They're supposed to be helpful guides. But at the end of the sieve, if you're like, wow, I really want to do that thing, that's something to know. Maybe you get points for just love and enthusiasm at the end as well. So, yeah.
Can I just ask, and just for clarification, we're looking at this page up there, but there, I found this page?
That's your mission. We didn't make that up. We took that from the web.
That's from the website.
When we did our priorities for the commission, we broke that out of the municipal code under your bylaws and set it out, and then built out your priorities from that.
Yeah. So it's always good just to ground yourself. Yeah.
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 Right.
If there's something in there that you want to take out or something you want to put in, I think that's doable. Is that true, Brian?
You guys can do whatever you want.
Oh, I love that.
Your document.
Yeah.
But let's,
One
yeah.
piece of advice that I heard about your commission is ask yourself if it's compelling. I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what, let's
We
put
can
that,
table that.
let's table that, but I think it's always good to ground yourself in the mission. And that can be a real session, the mission session. So I think we can take this at face value for now. And if that's something that you want to take on, we'll put it on your annual work schedule.
It's a good point, though.
It is.
Time, these were put together by a development planner.
Well, I'm sure
So if it needs an artist touch, and as part of this process, I hope that we do make some revisions to the code around the section governing arts in the city.
Great.
Great.
Okay. Now, we have a worksheet for you. So we're going to take these criteria for a spin. So put your brain in the sieve. And we have some projects that we've kind of heard about, but these aren't the only ones. But we can start to run these through the sieve. So in terms of projects, no project has to check all the boxes. You want to look at the goals and have your collection of projects meet that, right? So there may be a project that just checks one box, but it's wonderful check in that box. It may be something else that checks several boxes. But when you get to the bottom line here, you want to take a look at that and go, well, geez, we don't have anything out for the neighborhoods. Or, you know, maybe we really need to do more that is for visibility. So I think just taking this for a run.
And they're all future focused. These are projects that are all out in front of us,
Yeah.
one way or another, sort of.
So let me just kind of touch on these projects. And if you want to use the projects you were talking about before, you can do that too. So cross one of these out and put in, you know, skate park art or something like that. Activating Dock Street, I think, is a kind of exciting idea with the Angel coming. It's one block. It's got the busker corner. It's got the skateboard corner. It's got a place where a mural would be really cool at the public parking lot. It's got the transit hub. And when the transit lady talked to us, she was like really excited to do something. It's got one crosswalk, but that could be like a great crosswalk that would then get you to the sculpture and the water. So we thought Chalk the Dock might be an easy, quick thing, because everybody loves chalk around here, and it rhymes with Dock Street. So so maybe with the giant scissors, hop on pop. You know, maybe there are angel themes. There's wings. I don't know, feathers. We could figure that out later. But is that something that really makes it through the sieve by checking a number of things? You can tell us. City Council Pam, right, who has been in a lot of our stuff, is very excited about major gateway art. There's a spot that I think would be really cool where we were stuck at the traffic light, where there's the walkway to the trail head where all the, political signs and school lunches or whatever, all the signage, Detrius is out there, so it's clearly a place that is a gateway. But that would be pretty cool, where 20 hits the stoplight. There are other places Gateway could be. I don't know what the Gateway art is. This is just for projects, right? So we're not trying to decide exactly what the project's doing, but is that something that you want to pursue? Stormwater art was something that we got some love from Public Works. That could be pretty easy. That could be a chalk thing or a paint thing or a rainwater thing, but that's something that maybe kids in the neighborhood could do. It connects, art and, water quality, science stuff. That could be a good community art thing, and that was something that Stormwater folks at Public Works were excited about. Using the Interpretive Center as an exhibit space, that's one. The idea of the mural on the parking lot. You guys know what the one I'm talking about? Yeah, it's blank wall. Something at the transit center, Art Sparks in the neighborhood. That was something we talked about. Maybe people could gather around their parks and come up with an idea, and they could get, just a small amount of money that could go a long way. They could come up with a little plan. They could come up with a dinner. They could paint something, whatever. And the Performing Arts Center, the new venue, is something that I think, is on the arts hopes and dreams for Oak Harbor. Whether that's something that you want to do or not, or what your role is, I don't know. So anyway, we're going to take a few minutes, and you guys are going to put, let's do a circle. So if the circle is black, you love it. It really hits that thing. And then a half a circle, you're art people, you can have a half circle any way you want. But it's good, but it's not a slam dunk. So contributing and slam dunk, or not at all. So again, if you wanted to use some of these ones, like the Chalk Festival coming up, because those are doing it. But I think mostly I want to test the criteria. Does this seem like, is there a lot of public benefit to the project? Who does it serve? Again, not everybody has to serve everything. Maybe one serves a neighborhood, one serves the entire community if it's the gateway. So anyway, this is a brain exercise through the sieve.
I guess too, it's, as commissioners, you can ask yourself, yeah, that particular idea isn't really my jam, but I can totally get behind it. I can reach consensus on it, so I could reach consensus on her to get behind it, maybe a half circle where a full circle is, oh, I'm really excited about this.
I've worked for quite a long time with Kendall Lot at Public Works. I'm sure she's the one that was excited about the brain art. There is a East Coast community that does an annual, and they're just mini murals when you're talking about storm drain art. They do an annual thing. It's a lot like Waterford Walls in Ireland, where they chose to paint 25 drains, and then there's a festival around that. And
Oh,
the next
nice.
year, they paint more drains, and then the next year, they fix the ones that need to be painted and paint more.
Oh,
So pretty
nice.
soon, all the storm drains get painted, and they can be done by community members, because
Yeah.
they're tiny templates of easy art, just, frogs and ducks. And I did a lot of research about that festival, so it was just like,
Oh,
the
nice.
streets are full of like Cynthia's chalk art thing, and is it Edmonds that does that? Redwood, yeah. So that would be, then I know that Public Works had dedicated money to having that happen. So they've got money and they've got excitement, so we can connect them with some other people and maybe, pick out a storm drain art.
Some of the public works people do some of the storm drain art to take it off.
Divided by
And then,
departments. I want to see what the
Competition.
drivers come up with.
and then there's the material that you put on the ground in a stencil, and it only shows up in the rain.
Yep.
And they did that, Chamber did that probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I went out and bought the same product, and I was doing it. So, it can be footprints up and down the street, or special messages that you can only see on rainy days. But that's super simple, easy, and you can do that with stencils. You don't need to have artists.
Yep.
You just antique product.
But you could have one downtown that was like, the coolest artist ever comes and does the coolest thing ever.
I don't know the neighborhood in Seattle, but they have the brass footprints, so you could
Yeah.
do the dancing.
Yeah, it's Jack Mackey,
Yeah,
Capitol Hill.
so, I mean, you could even do this dance steps in paint if you wanted to do that.
So if you like the idea of stormwater art, there's lots of ways it could be done. It could be done like one storm drain, or you could have a party with drains all over the city. So I think, looking at that, does that serve neighborhoods? So give yourself, like, in the checkbox, see if our criteria are working. But we don't have to figure out the details of the projects yet.
Right, that kind of,
Yeah.
Well, that could be then taken to the neighborhoods. So you're right,
Absolutely.
yeah, and even expanding the painted fire hydrant program.
Yep.
And let neighborhoods,
You want circles on each spot, or?
And some of them, maybe you can use like dollar signs. Yeah. It's not scientific.
You just go down the list, criteria list. of
Yeah.
each project and
Yes.
see where it fits with the,
Yeah.
okay, partial dollar.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
that's it, yeah.
Just, I was just seeking clarification. on our side.
Marine flags.
Well, I just said, between Dock Street, stormwater art, and the transit center project, because there were other entities that are very interested in that, so we've already got a team that wants to play.
Yeah.
And the same thing for, you're looking at Art Sparks, and like, okay, there's potential boots on the ground to make this easier to do, whereas when I look at the Performing Arts Center and Major Gateway, that's like, these are wonderful goals if we take 5 years and beyond to do that.
Well, we're going to have a 3-year kind of deal.
Yeah.
So there's the low-hanging fruit, right? Quick wins, cheap thrills. Then there's the, bigger projects, but they're like a year, getting a chalk festival going is going to be a year-long thing. And then there's ones that maybe you're playing an advocacy role.
And it's important that some are quick wins and some are long-term, so that if
Yeah.
people in the community don't connect with the quick wins, you can say, well, look at what we're rolling out next year, and look at what we're rolling out the year after. So it's not like a 10-year plan that's going to burden you too much for the long haul, but so that if people aren't on board with what's happening right now, there's things they can check out that are in the pipeline that are exciting, because you'll never get everybody on any one of these, right? So the criteria, when we were talking this through, were like, what's universal enough and what's specific enough to get, the sound artist needs to speak into the microphone, yeah, I know.
Sparks in the neighborhood, and Robert from the Boys and Girls Club, he was very interested in helping organize that and spread the word on that. So,
Well, I think one of the things that's falling out of this discussion is there are different roles for you guys, right?
Yeah.
One is as a catalyst. And the beauty of that is, somebody's interested in doing that. Let's have the Arts Commission encourage and connect people. Maybe you connect the Boys and Girls Club with the Public Works Department. And so it's not a ton of your time resources, but it will bear fruit as a catalyst, right? There are other things where, maybe you're a convener, that you get people together, but they're the boots on the ground. Similarly, or you may be the presenter, or you may be the funder. But you guys are a volunteer board, and so how you leverage your time is through these other things, by being inspiring and by being organizing. And
You mentioned something right at the beginning, like nobody, like my golf buddies, who knows me besides the Ken statue? But can you help us? Because there's so many great ideas that the world doesn't know about. They do not know that this is potential, and that what we're thinking and what we would hope somebody else thinks along with us. And I still think that the rollout of all of us here with the names to the organization, to the art commission, to the plan, for what the plan is and what the plan is hoping to do and how everyone else can help us make this plan work. That is, to market this or promote this thing so that it gets sold and people get excited. They're as excited about this as we are. They don't know about this.
Yeah.
So how do we generate the excitement about it?
Well, I think visibility and success breeds success, right? And you guys are kind of a secret thing. I mean, you can find what you're doing, but you kind of have to work at it.
And you don't know who did it.
Right.
Who was responsible for it.
Right.
We never had a ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
Who did for one?
The art commission is known as an entity, not necessarily a group of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
more controversy around that, I think, sometimes, than there is the good work that comes out of it, positivity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think what we're asking is how to get that positivity promoted and out within the community.
Yeah.
So they don't, so that the loudmouths, look at that, criticize them all the time, in our community that are against any change.
Yeah.
Are outmatched, so to speak, in the voices that we hear in the community. I think that's the ultimate goal. And then, I think once we have a finished product, we then promote it completely out as well.
But, I think you never have to wait for the ribbon cutting per se. I think it's all of a piece. So I think the OH Arts, has anybody been looking at those? That's great. I think if you can just keep that going, because you have so much going for you, it just makes me want to cry. I mean, we've been working with Federal Way. You guys have so much going for you that other communities would kill for, right? And it's art and nature and it's beauty, it's community. And I mean, I was so happy I got to go to the music festival. I mean, you guys know how to throw parties, holy smoke.
Definitely throw some parties.
Yeah.
It's not an issue.
Well, how do we, I don't know your golf buddies, I probably won't ever meet them, but I think, that's okay. We can go out for a beer, maybe they'd love art by the end of it. But I think the the people who look at culture as somebody else's gig, we have a culture, and some of it we like, some of it we don't like, but we have one. And we share that, and that's a really important thing. So I think I'm hoping the OH Arts thing, if you have some repetitiveness, so if you can say, hey, go check out, they probably don't do Instagram, so I don't know how you reach anybody anymore these days, but.
Again, there's a lot of tech on this, and that's probably the bad word on this, but the people my age and older, not into this. If you want me to find and hear about all this via that or my computer or my laptop,
Yeah.
that doesn't work. It's got to be, it has to be paper, it has to be something to reach everybody, especially when these are the people that will say yes or no when it comes time to putting dollars and voting on taxes, and so that we can fund these things.
Well,
So it has to be both.
yeah.
It can't be just because we posted it
Right.
on Instagram or we have a great website. That's not the answer.
We have to have parties.
We need
There-
more parties.
well,
Yeah, let's have another festival. Let's go.
Well, and our festival is an option, right? I mean, that is another piece of it. There's naming festivals.
Sorry, let me remind everyone, make sure you turn on your
yeah. There's some really easy things to be done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to say something. I always want to say something, I'm sorry. So I'm looking at all of these goals that you have here, and I've got a black full circle under every single one of them,
Yeah.
and I added the skate park renovation. So what I appreciate is the opportunity discuss this way with you as we
Yeah.
proceed to seeing our final plan that you deliver to us. I'm really excited to hear more about the toolkit tomorrow with us, because I think that will answer a lot of the questions of needing the website, of needing social media. And then, of course, I brag about how great Brian and his team are and what they've done in the short time that they've been here, but they're going to be the ones that we lean on outside of us tagging OH Art Is as a commissioner to get the work done. I mean, we have all these volunteer subcommittees,
Yep.
but we're tasking staff, and
Yep.
we're just one of how many, Brian? 8 or 9 committees. So,
Yep.
I mean, Brian has the largest department in the city, and I think it's really important he has it, because all of these things contribute to improving and showcasing the diversity of our community, and then you go into the health side of everything. So I'm a huge fan of this conversation. I'm excited about the toolkit. I know everybody's really anxious to get there, but I truly believe you're going to give us the right checklists and protocols to achieve all of this stuff.
Well, you bring up a really good point. And the hard part then is the priorities. Do we want to do all these things? Absolutely. Okay, then another one is going to be, another worksheet when we get to it, is what are the resources does it take? And then, you've only got so many resources. Do we want to add, quarter-time FTE for admin staff? Or, is that something the city wants to do? But I think we have to make the case for the value, for the public benefit of these things. We have to make the case that the resources are worth it. We have to use the resources that you have really well in that catalyst, inspire, get other people to be the boots on the ground kind of mentality. But I think if we can show the public benefit of some of these things and win over some people that don't believe that there is public benefit, and this is not all going to happen in one day, and that's why I think those early wins are really important, and why you should be really proud of what you do and get the word out. I think that some of the really easy things to do are, you have a tent that says the Arts Commission on it, right? Maybe you have T-shirts that say Arts Commission on it. These things are like super easy. So I think there's some things that we can do to get that started. Maybe there's a kiosk where somebody goes with a whole bunch of OH Arts Is and puts it up on the senior center wall, puts it up at the golf club, so that there's some ways that we hit the folks that aren't, doing their phones. I mean, the newspapers used to be more of a thing than they are now. Is it still? Great.
There's a large older generation that still utilizes
Yeah.
I get my 5 articles a month, but like my parents hand me theirs when they're done with it. So I don't know. Most of you know my parents, so
Any coffee shop, everybody goes into the coffee
Yeah.
shop.
they're there. They're reading the newspaper.
So let's get a marketing strategy together, because it's not obvious to everybody that these have great public benefit. But I think you talk about getting some kids together to get the skate park going. There's real enthusiasm. So anyway,
I know some names, I never have a plan, I just have ideas.
yeah.
But I've been talking even to Maggie before she worked for the city. I've been talking about this for a really long time. Cynthia used the word that always gets me excited, and that's diversity.
Right.
And I feel that we should have a United Nations line of flags in Windjammer Park pushed against the back fence where the car lot is, so you're not taking up any space. But I have 7 flagpoles in my yard. I love my flags. And the flagpoles are definitely not expensive. They're not close enough to the water to be a permitting issue. And we could put in 30 flags, and the flagpoles hold 2 flags each, and then you have an event, and you reach out to the community, and you let them bring you their flag.
Yes.
I'm gonna buy the flag, and I'm gonna give it to you, and I want you to fly my flag. And it can be my heritage flag, my peace sign flag, my pirate
Oh,
flag,
that's
whatever it is,
nice.
here's my flag, and I want you to fly it. And when they're blowing in the wind, the sound is amazing, and the colors are amazing, and it's just, and inexpensive, and you can do it, public works, put flagpoles up, telescoping flagpoles up in one day.
It's a wonderful
I mean,
idea.
my
Yeah.
husband could put a flagpole up anyway.
Yeah.
But honestly, flagpoles are,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
amazing.
Well,
They are.
flags could be a really, we've been thinking about flags ever since we started this.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've been talking about other routes into town other than Route 20. And, you know, maybe down by where the Navy is, that would be a great place to have some flags, including like when people come from all the different states that they come from. Anyway, I think the flags are a beautiful idea. So,
But if you're inviting the community to bring you their flag,
Yeah.
that's asking them
yeah,
and caring about what they care about. And that's not saying, this is what we're gonna do. I'll fly your flag. I want you to give me your flag. I will fly it for you because I believe that we all can.
I love that.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful.
And then it's
beautiful idea.
really get, when I go out, I buy flags and replace them all the time. They're like $9 a piece, but the good ones are like
Yeah.
$60 a piece. And if I was gonna bring my Norwegian flag down here, I'd buy a good one. Tell them to buy the cheese.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to celebrate that too, right?
It could be just a meet and greet your heritage and
Yes.
just small, like they're doing Hispanic heritage next week. But it doesn't need to be big, it just be show up at the park. With your flag, and we're gonna raise it, and then we're gonna have them all up, and maybe we'll have
Some music or something,
like
food.
music from different countries.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, I love that idea because it is, there's so much to it. I think even before, like pre-criteria, for us, it's like, can we all at this table agree that the art is a celebration of community? That the expression of art, almost no matter what, is a celebration of the vibrancy in the community. And your flag idea gets right at that, in my mind. You know, like, even when it's art that's critiquing the status quo, that's a celebration of diverse viewpoints. Even when it's art that is not your favorite color, that's still bringing color to the community. You know what I mean? So it's like, even before we roll up our sleeves, it's so important, I think, you know, in this organization, and that you're leading by showing the example that art fundamentally is a celebration of our community. You know, it's like,
Something that everyone at this table knows, we have the most diverse community in this section of the state. I mean, because of our military. So
Yeah.
we're not just one thing, we're lots of things. And we can celebrate that. And we can still have the other festivals, but this one includes everyone. When you're, you know, walking with your grandkid, you can explain your history.
Well, yeah, because that's, people feel represented in it. I think when people don't like art, they don't feel like it represents them, you know? So, anyway, okay, so,
Yeah, just really quickly to dovetail off of Teresa. That, I would say, is a gap we have with our art representation is there. It's representing right now groups that have no problem voicing their own selves, right? But I think we have groups that are not doing that. And I don't know how to reach out and encourage them. This might be a great way to do that.
love it. Okay, so many great ideas. Let's go back to the criteria for a minute. Thoughts on filling this out? Cynthia has put black dots in all of them, and added a bunch of them. Okay, well, that's fine. We're not to prioritization yet. Any other thoughts filling this out? Does this, the idea of curating a set of activities and projects?
I think it's really good, but I also think that, like, what we circled back to is the marketing is gonna be key for any of it. And is there someone through the city, is that Maggie? That would be okay. I didn't know if it was another individual. I guess we have a really good partnership with Maggie, you know, with everything else that she has on her plate.
Right.
Yeah.
And making sure that we roll out all of that information for everyone to know what's going on, because that's where it seems like the ball is dropping.
But we're just creating some community that will help that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying,
So,
I'm just like,
one more
thing
thing.
is
Any other thoughts on
Michael, I
criteria?
had
Yeah.
just on the one, I love them all, and I see a couple of them kind of blending into be kind of one together. The Gateway Art one, and as you mentioned, we have more than one way into town, and we need more than one gateway.
Yeah.
And I've been a big voice of the triangle, Highway 20 and Midway, and Midway Road.
Yeah.
I would love to see North End, South End drivers driving down Midway to get to our downtown, not down 20.
Yeah.
And so finding a way to focus some directional and encouragement through this commission as well as other projects that we have going. Turn left. And they made it easier because now links, right? You don't have to sit through 3 lane turns like
Yeah, I'll have for the sign. Here's what
it's just, I mean, that stretch of road we're coming down, it's the hotels, it is where the bulk of our hotels are, currently, hopefully that'll change in the future. We're just somehow figuring out how to drive people.
Yeah.
It might be the quickest way to get out of town, like going left
Yeah.
and going around.
Well, and Midway was 1,000% better, like in the last 5 years than it has for.
And will continue to get better,
A lot of cabins booming
and they have their market as well, yeah, so all these different things, and there's, there is plans to, down the road in the future, to redo Midway at some point, as well, so, streetwise,
Yeah.
so having those in place, right?
You know, that brings up a role that I think is really important that people don't often recognize. And that's, we work with engineers a lot, and they're really great at solving problems, but if you let them define the problem, it's a problem. So the voice of arts and public benefit in some city decision-making, when the engineers are in the room, I think it would be really great to have some connection, an ambassador or ombudsman or something that makes sure that the voice of, beauty and quality of life is considered in engineering decisions at the very beginning. So, and I think, you find in departments, you were kind of joking before, but there's always somebody in public works that's like really into art. Olympia had these chainsaw sculptures that were hilarious. Anyway, you'll find them and they get really happy when you give them some leash. Yeah.
And Chris, to your point, like multiple gateways also doesn't necessarily mean multiple projects, right? There can be a cohesion to this, like where you have one artist or you have one artist team doing multiple entry points. So I think it's very good to consider that cohesively rather than like, oh, we need a gateway here, we have to do another process. We need a gateway here, it's another process. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah.
Go for it, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna mention, the whole origin of the art funding was around redevelopment, and making sure that there was art and beautification as part of that development planning effort. Over the years, that's kind of been separated, but I hope that one of the takeaways from the art plan is reintegrating in the original purpose of that funding into making sure that we have good placemaking standards, we have good beautification requirements as part of development, especially redevelopment as a city, as Chris alluded to, is going to be doing a lot of redevelopment in the coming years.
On the private side. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add to Chris's comments about the gateways. This is a conversation that has been spoke of for many years by many stakeholders. So it won't take much to spark that. I wrote across the entire page. I could identify 3 different groups of stakeholders for each of those projects because everybody's been very anxious to do these things without the support of a voice or an entity pulling them together and working cohesively with the municipality to get them done. So we're in a really great space right now.
That's really exciting because that's the kind of project that'll have a huge impact, but you're a catalyst, right? So it would really be getting some folks together. It would be an artist selection process. It would be a criteria for the art. I mean, that's the kind of thing where I think, when we talk about artist selection, that you might want to have 3 artists get a stipend to come up with some ideas. about what it would be, so that there's kind of some participation in what is representing you as Oak Harbor. But that could be very impactful, and, you know, it's different than the boots on the ground for, you know, cleaning the skate park or something like that. Okay. What do we have next? Okay, yeah, so that was...
Did any of the criteria fall flat with anyone? Is there anything here that didn't quite land in terms of questions to ask ourselves going into this? You feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, I think they're all great questions.
I
Okay.
have a question
Great.
about the calendar, and maybe it can be tabled till tomorrow, so you tell me. So I'm looking at take advantage of opportunities as a criteria. So, and I'll just, you know, put my Treese Kingsbury hat on. I've got a calendar in front of me that we've all agreed upon, and we're making a plan, and I come in and say, I have a great opportunity, and we can't miss this. Is that the situation? I mean, we have to be prepared for those things. Well, and the mural is an example. But
Well-
I'm saying, once we come up with a calendar, we have to be flexible enough that we have to agree that we need to take advantage of an opportunity,
Yeah.
should it present itself, and meet everything else that we're trying to do.
Yeah,
Yes, am I reading that right? Okay.
absolutely. I mean, look,
Walt has participated in the fastest city game ever.
Yeah, I mean,
Went from an opportunity to a check written in less than 3 weeks.
We have
Yeah.
a good council.
that's awesome.
and I mean, it's not that you're volunteer board, you don't have to do this, you get to do this. And that's what's going to keep it fun and awesome, is if, you know, some great opportunity can come up and you can seize it and execute quickly. Like, that's what's going to keep it fun and engaging for you all. So that needs to be built in, I think, right?
Well, and
Yeah.
ripping a Band-Aids off is always much smoother if you do it quickly than if you do it slowly.
Yeah. You can't break the rules if you don't have any. So, I mean, this is an organizational tool to have you be effective, right? Because, I mean, it's interesting. Other city commissions have, like, you're the planning commission, you know what you're supposed to do. And there's, like, RCWs and all that kind of stuff. The Arts Commission is like, oh, I want to do, you know, unicorns. And so I think giving yourself some structure, if I may say a framework, is really helpful. And then it's yours to make good decisions on. And if the decision is, oh my God, we can do this thing, then do it.
We make adjustments and amendments all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how things get done in the spur of the moment when we need to do repairs, and we're kind of fixing things so that taking advantage of the Teresa clause, I think we can call it, right? Is absolutely a vital piece of this plan, because we have to have that flexibility. You can't be so rigid that we're just sticking to the calendar. Oh, and we can't, you know, because things will change, prices will change, you know, people will change.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Okay, so let's go to the page that says 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, et cetera. So if we're saying we want to do these things, we want to have some visibility, we want to have connectivity, we like having some stuff out in the neighborhoods, where the gateway seems like a great idea. You know, venues is a bit of an outlier. But if you said we're going to curate a set of projects, there's more things than we can do. But, gee, what would we like to accomplish in the next, and you could say in the next 6 months, and the next 1 to 2 years. You can, again, rules are meant to be broken. You can change these numbers at the top if you want. But basically, what do you want to do near term? What's going to take some time to set up, but it's really dear to your heart? And then what do you want to keep your eye on that you want to have happen long term?
And I think our figuring on this, sort of when we took a stab at it, is on the next page, like with some rough dollar amounts, right? Yeah, so this is kind of like, could look like, yeah, it's a cheat sheet, I guess, but it was sort of like when Bobo and Leslie and I took it back, you know, and started workshopping it, this is kind of like what we landed with. And so you don't in any way have to go with this, but this is like an example of that question in action. Like, okay, how do we come up with a 1 to 2 year plan, 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and what are we talking about budget-wise? So this is just an example for you to follow, but you absolutely don't I have to follow it.
Yeah, we just made this
Yeah,
up.
We just made it up.
It's an example for you.
Yeah.
What I would, myself, if I was coming up with prioritization, I would also be looking at not only money, since our money gets renewed each year. So what fits, for instance, we have a lot of expenses right now with the Angel. So what still fits for the budget for this year? Some smaller things. So looking at things like that. But also, since we do put a lot of work on Parks and Rec and other people within the city, and they also have their own things that they're doing, I think we also need to look at how much work would be devoted to each project. And is it feasible to put 3 things all in one year that are heavy resource needs?
Well, and to add to that, as far as budget goes, I mean, once we come up with these priorities, I think identifying grant opportunities is really important too, and working with Wendy, and the chalk art will be our first example of doing that. But there's a lot of money for arts and to be had within our country. So I think that's going to be key too as we plan all of these out.
Yeah, the resources is really important. I mean, dollars are part of that, but, if you're saying there are other organizations that would like to help have a thing happen, that's certainly a resource. But I think, you can play around with this a little bit. It's like, well, okay, we could do a few things just immediately. Which of those few of all the ideas that you've got make the most sense to do in the shortest term? Yeah, so you should,
We've got a
yeah.
budget for it, and we have vendors that are willing to perform it. And we've got community members that are willing, we've already got the senior center that put together, we're going to take the sequels and then digitize and it's ready to wrap.
Oh, nice.
Picked out their boxes and we started in the schools. And
So-
the arts commissioners have taken 2 that are across from Wells Fargo on Pioneer Way, so we can all start picking our own art that we want to represent ourselves. And that can be done in the next 6 months.
Yeah. And it should somehow be brought to you by the City of Oak Harbor and the Arts Commission. So we should have a category in here of already approved.
Well, I was going to say, that's
Yeah.
almost one of the last pipeline, if you would, projects that we've been watching the paint dry on for 8 years. Literally. But I mean, really, I think after the Ken and Brews are installed and the boxes are wrapped, those kind of put to rest a long wait time for those activities to happen. I don't think there's anything else in the pipeline. I haven't looked at it, but yeah.
We're kind of put things on hold to try to get this done.
Yeah.
From my understanding, from the reserve.
But I've already heard that you want celebrations for the Acorn, the collection, which you already named, chalk events, something out there. It's not in the pipeline, but there are things you were just talking about before we started this discussion.
Yeah, that's kind of what you were wrapping up.
Right,
Summarizing
right.
that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is sort of about taking taking this opportunity when you have things wrapping up to create a new mindset as an organization. How do we adopt a visionary, pragmatic mindset going forward? And so we're hoping that this balances both the visionary piece and the great idea piece with a pragmatic approach to the arts, if you will,
Don't forget finalization of the angel statue and the cover of the Acorn and planning for, a amphitheater and the art center and
Which are all kind of around me.
And the bigger ticketed items, like the venues, the arts center or the performing arts, I think that's what we're referring to. Even though if it might be a 3 to 5 year, 5 to 10 year window, it has phases, I would assume, that we're gonna have to go through feasibility studies and, grant applications and permitting processes and whatnot, which all can be broken down and budgeted and measured as well. I've learned a lot.
Yeah. And like it says on here, we want to expand out from just the focus of placement of a public art piece, right? It's not all about statues, right? It's programming.
Yeah,
It's, creating things like art walks, creating an experiential environment for people that when they come here, it's not just looking at art, but there are activities and there are experiences that they can have that are catered to showcase a culturally rich community. Right, rotating displays or, yep.
Yeah. That place should be full all the time.
I still, the 1 to 2 year thing is, number one is still winning the hearts and minds. And so I keep looking at opportunities to win the hearts and minds that not only do they're begging us for art. People aren't begging us for art now. So I keep looking at opportunities to win the hearts and minds, and the first one that jumps out of my mind, right now, is putting together a sponsor in one of the chamber luncheons and putting together, because you get a show, we have a captive audience, and there's tables around there. There could be stuff on tables. There could be, to explain who we are, what we do, and where this is going, and get people excited about a vision. And then, so now you've got a captive audience that just walked out of there that might have,
Cynthia did that a couple months ago at the chamber luncheon. She passed out all the flyers at the chamber,
but
at Chamber Park, and then said, we're rolling out the art plan, please give us your ideas, we're having meetings, so she's done that, then she had her other power.
What was the response?
I think very positive. I mean, my mind's eye goes to the idea of hosting a gathering, a wine and cheese event with the art groups or artists in the community, because they're going to help start that spark. They're going to, once they realize that we're here supporting them and wanting to promote them, they'll get excited about it and they'll help spread the word to the community. So yeah, showing up at chamber and hoping you get picked for a haul for $1 is one thing, but yeah, I think winning the hearts and minds is going to be forever on the calendar.
Yeah. Well, I think an honoring program might be a really good way to do that. So, saying that you've got someone who's done like fabulous work to get the music thing going, that you can have somebody out there as sort of an ambassador of the arts that rotates, but maybe you show up at the Rotary as the artist thing, and you can talk about what's going on in town. But I think you need to be ambassadors in different places of the community, and I think it's really doable. But I don't know if you like the little I logo.
Like the honorary thing, last meeting that we had, Cynthia said she found 35 non-for-profits. I'm like, that's somewhere we could start honoring each one of those non-for-profits and have like a little wine and cheese event, and invite everyone to see who wants to come.
Well, and talk about being ambassadors, I'll speak for myself. Joining the Arts Commission a handful of years ago is much different than sitting at this table right now.
Yeah.
So just these conversations and the activities that we're doing in our community is empowering me to feel like I can have a voice about being an arts commissioner.
Yeah.
Whereas before I felt, I don't want to say stifled because that wasn't it. I just felt like there was a script needed. And that's not the case at all, because I know what we're doing. I can talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a very different evolution where we are right now than we were 8 years ago.
I'm so glad you feel that. And I think outreach can also be scary. Like, I think it can be scary to start going forward into the community with new ideas. And when I've had pushback on my own public art that I've made myself, and people come up to me and say, I really hate what you did, or something. That hasn't ever happened that blatantly, but like criticism comes, and I mean, the only The only way I can think to respond is just to say, I'm so glad you have an opinion, because that's authentic. I'm so glad that people are engaged in the arts, even if they don't like it.
You have an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
You didn't have an elevator.
Yeah, so it's just like that. It's like, I'm so glad you have an opinion, and keep an eye on us because things are changing, right? Like, you're going forward in a new direction that's super exciting. And so if you start to hear some, some criticism or some negativity, that's the best way I can think of for you to meet negativity right now, if there is any. I don't want to manufacture it, and it all may be cool, but if things aren't cool, it's like, I'm really glad you have an opinion, and keep an eye on us because things are changing,
Well, and it's changing with this plan, right? Like, we kept always saying, there's not a plan. So when we adopt this and city council adopts it into their comprehensive plan, it's golden. It's so golden. It's a brand new start for Oak Harbor. It really is.
I have the squirrel idea, which happens. I'm one of those, I don't implement, I'm an idea person do as well. And I'm thinking about this marketing, and how do we get this out, and how do we, I don't know if the city's done it before or whatnot, and I haven't been to a movie in a lot of years inside of a theater, because I just don't do the crowd thing. But I know that our local drive-in is packed most every weekend, right? Throughout the year, right? Right, and I know that Beetlejuice is sold out at in the cinema as well. How do we capitalize on that big screen with the crowd? Because I can remember as a kid going to the theater and there were ads.
Yeah.
Right, not just. Well, actually, we started with a little Looney Tunes cartoon, right, and then we had some ads, and then Grandpa got up on the stage at the matinee. These are all these things, right? Like, that's an opportunity to put the hashtag out there, right? It's an opportunity to keep it updated and right? And I didn't know if we discussed it, so I'm just.
The Base Theater too, at the Base Movie Theater.
Chris, I was just looking through our documents and notes from when we were going through our priorities and goals exercises, when we were doing those workshops. And when we listed out, the things that we wanted to accomplish, most of those were like one or maybe even twice mentioned, but there's two that were mentioned multiple times. One, which was mentioned 4 times, was partnerships. And then the number one, which was mentioned 7 times, was promotion.
Nice.
Promoting of several different things, but you guys were very interested in having a promoting and a championing presence for all this stuff, and trying to figure out ways to get that voice out.
Champion, okay.
Yeah, and I just think, as I broaden out from my hat of the tonight, right, and with what you've done with parks and programming, this is something that families do all year round between the drive-in, the Navy Theater, the local cinema. Not as much as people would, the cinema would like it, but it's still used on big releases and whatnot. What a great way to get some information out to people and capitalize on that at all areas of the city.
We need a new committee to go hit those 3 places and find out what is needed.
I think we do a wine and cheese with another one of our council members who's connected with all those folks.
Another really, the transit lady was so enthusiastic, and getting something out on the buses. I mean, the thing that's really beautiful about working in this kind of world is that you try to tap into people's creativity. Your schools are a real resource. Talk about, resources. If we could train up some kids to do some little, like, 1-minute films of, an art spark, that maybe the theaters would be happy to show that.
So our school district has an excellent videography and right? Plus the drama kids, and we do have a vacant student spot that we need to fill. You have somebody?
I do. I think she might have put in an application.
So we might have that filled. That might be the way to not only foster that connection and partnerships through and build up promotions, but it also fosters that leadership. And you're not just sitting on an art commission hang out with really cool people, you got an opportunity to then take that to your, back into the school, back into the student body and motivate them. And we are an artist-driven school district, in my opinion, as well. So, yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. Okay, it's, I think we're here till 7, right? Okay, so would you go to the last slide? We're just going to jump around a little bit. So we have an example here of what a work plan might look like. We borrowed this from somebody else, but it's got committee/project objectives, and we don't have to do it exactly like this. We've got the tasks, who and when. So the idea is you name names. Again, if you want to slip something in here that, shows up, that's fine. But this is the kind of thing we want to end up with for you. So in January or whenever you want to do this, you look at this and go, okay, well, we're going to do this here. We have these tasks to get that done. Here's where it shows up in the calendar. But that means, when you have your meeting, you look at what tasks you are to get to here, and how's that going, right? So again, this doesn't have to be a straitjacket, but it's just really should be helpful. Open to comments. Excellent. Well, I just love the discussions that we've had to kind of get us here so we can get this to be the right thing. But I'm so excited for you guys because you've got so many committed people, so many organizations, so many beautiful things where you live that I think if you can be the catalyst for getting some things to happen, it's there to happen. Right? If you can connect the video kids with the theater, I mean, what a win-win for everybody. So anyway, I want to convert your golf mates, but it's ongoing. Get them drunk, yeah.
But also with the.
They already are.
In terms of moving things, keeping things moving forward once you get into these projects, once you start with some of these new initiatives, I think one of the best things that we can do is to eliminate that question of like, so where are we with that? Like that, when you're working with organizations, that question comes up all the time. So we can talk more about this tomorrow too, about, as we develop, as we get the work plan, launch the work plan for a particular project, are we in concept design, final concept, design development, final design, prototyping, engineering, so that for every project or program, meeting to meeting, exactly where you are, and that we try not to go backwards, right? We try to, once we're done with final concept, we're into design, and so we'll detail this out tomorrow too, but just, that's another way to sort of break down the process a little bit more for you, hopefully.
For tomorrow, we have it as the subcommittee that are meeting on that, but I feel totally fine expanding that to the whole commission for anyone that would like to attend, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. We can do a notice.
I find it hard that talking about art that you force us to color inside.
I'll be there.
I would just put a notice out,
I don't know, Valerie, can you be there at 3:30? You're working.
I get off at 4:30.
2:30.
I can-
2:30. 2:30.
Yeah, I have to look and see how
We'll
much,
stay 6 feet apart.
how many patients I have. I might be able to leave early, talk about this.
That happened one night at the summer concert series.
Oh my God, there's 4 of us, don't wait.
Well, I'll go ahead and extend the invitation to everyone, and if you're able to join us, great.
What are you going to do to
I will make sure that we don't stay inside of mine.
JR's there to do that.
We'll let him color between the lines.
I do it.
All right.
Can you see my rainbows and sparkles coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love hearing the new idea, like that this stimulates new ideas is really exciting. Like, that's a great sign, I think.
Like, just so many mice on the table.
Are we at,
Just one, yeah, just something for food for thought. I'm in a neighborhood where we don't have a park close by. I think it's just because we're sandwiched between a couple schools. But how do we think about art in a place that doesn't have a park, like it, just a street?
Do you have fire hydrants?
Yep.
Yes,
No bus stop.
I think also you got to expand your definition of what art is, right? So things
Exactly.
like what comes to mind when we say that are like things like, have you ever
Like
done
we
those
can't-
roads where you go over the bumps and it plays you a song as you're driving down the road? Or, maybe it's something that's part of, the street light featers.
I was thinking the street light. Yeah, we have one
Yeah.
on our street.
Art doesn't require a public plaza or a park. I think we can get pretty creative. And that goes back to, as we're doing redevelopment, and right now we're doing a series of street improvements, right? You're
Yes.
seeing that.
Yes,
So
I'm one of them.
are there opportunities to maybe do something as we're redoing these streets? Maybe it's some kind of whimsical thing with the sidewalks. Maybe it's, I don't know. You guys are more creative than I am with this stuff, but that's where you get outside of coloring between the lines, right? Of, what's something that we could do that's just different?
You go outside of my house on the sidewalk, power wash, a hopscotch thing going the length of my sidewalk.
wow.
So when the kids go to school, they're right in front of my house, they're out there, even in high school. Turning around, going for a walk.
Those kinds of things would be great to get in the engineering department kind of before it's too late.
Yeah, we do have a active transportation plan that's in the works.
Okay. Okay.
Cat, Matt, who originally oversaw this art film, and he's the most knowledgeable about the history of it.
Yeah,
Great.
Nice.
When I do sidewalks for everyone, I like Alex.
We could, item 6. Member comments? Any members have comments?
Thank you for coming.
Any termination of future items?
And old stuff can come on, right?
And just real quick, if I can, to remind everyone of kind of the schedule of what's coming up with this residency number 2. So we have the draft plan subgroup discussion at 2:30 tomorrow, the art plan public drop-in session at 4:30 tomorrow, and then framework will be at the military appreciation picnic, and they have a booth there. So, yeah, stop in, help promote.
The military stop by. You see anybody that resembles like the leadership? Being a military guy, flying those crawlers that were out there, there's still a big group around us. There's no place to stop off. So that's like, okay, military, how do we, there's a big relationship with there's a disconnect. Talk about our diversity that the military brought, well, it's a figure out how that.
And we're going to be out in it. So we are already out. Yes.
That's a determination
why U-Haul was able to go in, because it's not a large population.
You know, when you come into town, and there's like a big sign for you all, it's just not, the flowers are so different.
Well, we used to have a billboard. You could put it back.
Well, there's a CAB board right now, made up of different organizations, including the library and state talking about the weapons things. I think we're talking about that in August work, so that's on the table for.
Aren't you gonna turn the ground to go in the museum?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe there's something there. Turn it.
Brian, what is happening now with the Kinnebrews? How are we moving forward with those two that need to be put in?
Yeah, so like Cynthia mentioned while you were there, you presented. The council approved that, so we have the 7,000 for each installation. We can put in the one at Fred Marsh anytime.
Okay, when?
That can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think we still, that's the one that's ready to be installed, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need any more coating or anything?
No.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that one's ready to go, so that can just go get done. The other one still needs a little work though, right?
The three towers need to go to Skagit powder coat, get sandblasted, and just, that's it.
Yeah, and we'll plan on doing that, in the spring. That's going to go at Sumner Park. On Regatta and First? Yeah, yeah. Yep.
I'll do it. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.